Not saying anything.
All right, video 3.
All right, we'll talk about this at lunch too.
All right, the proletariat would overthrow the bourgeoisie in a violent revolution. It has to be violent, right?
Good.
This would end class struggle, and the arrival of communism would develop a system of radical equality. So this would end class struggle because now the working class proletariat owns the means of production, and they can create equality. And every time people have had a Marxist or a communist revolution, this never happened. But people out there are still like, hey, one of the best memes I ever saw about this, you know the meme with it's like the guy looking at the girl behind him with the girlfriend? And instead of having one girlfriend, it's like 12, and it's like USSR, China, Cuba, Vietnam, and so on and so on. And then still looking at like Marxist ideas. Anyway, I digress. Anyway.
So funny.
Alright. I didn't say it was funny.
Alright, leave it alone.
You
Yeah.
wheezed.
Anyway.
You weeds.
Anti-capitalism views. If you can't figure it out, he's also anti-capitalist.
Wait, really?
Yeah. You said cap. It's in the name.
That's cap.
That's capital. In capitalism, labor was a commodity bought and sold for wages. In capitalism, labor was a commodity bought and sold for wages. Workers made goods always worth more than workers' pay. So in capitalism, labor was a commodity bought and sold for wages. Workers made goods always worth more than their workers' pay, which he finds unfair. So basically he says in capitalism, labor was a commodity, bought and sold for wages, right? You come to work for me at McDonald's, I'm going to pay you some money. Then the product they make is always worth more than their wages, but what ends up happening is that the owner of the company or the means of production, they take too much profit from your work and do nothing.
It's like I make like a certain hourly rate, but I might sell like a lot more.
Millions of dollars of
hourly
products,
rate.
exactly, yeah. So,
And I won't get any of it because I just make an hourly.
because it has to go to the managers and the people in the business and Drew Brees, who owns your, restaurant stuff. So, and what does Drew Brees do? He's not flipping burgers in the back, right? Drew Brees, where's Drew Brees, right? He's not out here working like us in the trenches and walk-ons. We should rise up and overthrow Drew Brees and the managers and take control of the walk-ons, right? They will own the cheeseburgers and the waffle fries, right?
Worth it. It was all worth it.
Anyway, so he thought capitalism was very productive but highly exploitive.
I love that. Does it work? Yeah, but
It's too exploitive,
I
right?
don't like it.
He thought capitalism was very productive but highly exploitive. In a never-ending search for profit, bourgeoisie would squeeze workers dry and spread across the globe their greed, right? So you're always trying to compete, always trying to get more money from the people. So you're always going to figure out a way to cut costs, right? Not give your workers better pay.
Despite the fact that the bourgeoisie also was trying to do self-improvement projects to help, like, the poor working class.
But it's because they have a guilty conscience. Is that why?
Yeah.
Fix the system.
Right. Burn down the system, you mean. Don't fix it. Start over. Ideas of free trade, private property, marriage, and Christian morality were myths that masked the class exploitation.
You know that boy?
They're myths. Ideas of free trade, private property, marriage, and Christian morality were myths that masked class exploitation. So yeah, Marxists usually aren't associated with religion either. No.
I love that. You think you love her?
It's a
Lies.
myth.
You've been lying.
Well, you think about what he's getting at here, like, the idea of, like, there being a contract of, like, I'm married together. Like, what does that mean?
It literally
This is very
Right.
This is very what is it? I'm trying to think of it.
Snooty college kid, like senior year college kid, who's like, they know everything, right?
Yeah, it's like we're all just in like this one big system and they conveyor it all of life. And I'm like, dude, just get married and die. Like,
Exactly.
just go through it like the rest of us.
So basically, society should be better for everybody. Don't give me your stupid crap about morality or about, Christianity or marriage or free trade or whatever, right? Make society better. All right, the impact of Marxism. So, Marx and Engels wrote the Communist Manifesto in the 1840s Revolutionary Era. And he wrote it thinking that communism would spread because he believed that as industrialization got worse and worse, proletariat gets larger and larger, that eventually by the late 1800s, 1900s, that these ideas would take hold and revolutions begin to break out more, right? But like I said, it's also written during like this revolutionary period where there's a lot of revolutions that particular year. So it kind of seems like that's happening. But all these ideas that he lays out, and Engels lay out in 48, they are basically, you know, they think they're going to happen, but they don't really happen. So the communist movement was in its infancy. So by the time he dies in the 1880s, Marx had totally reshaped left-wing radicalism. And we're not done yet. We're going to see some other changes in growth. Like there's some tweaks to Marxism in the late 1800s. But the first attempt at implementing Marxism as an actual country is going to be where? Yeah, in Russia in the 19-teens, right? During World War I. So we're not there yet, but Vladimir Lenin, Bolsheviks, all that, that's when it actually be first tried, right? And you know, now we know today this very successful country, the USSR, that's over there in Asia, that's still thriving, communist utopia, right? Doing wonderful, exactly. Yeah. All right, so we're actually going to come off the political isms, and now we're going to go to the literary isms.
You said.
You said.
We were almost.
You promised.
I said.
You promised.
Wait, I think it's actually after Romanticism.
I literally want to die.
Yes, after I finish Romanticism, then we get to politics.
I want to learn about William Blake and William Blake.
All right, so we last left off with like classicism and Enlightenment, right? So the late 1700s, mid to late 1700s was like Enlightenment and classicism, right? Neoclassicism. So right at the turn of the century, right around 1790s, going into about the 1840s, you're going to have Romanticism. The pendulum swings the other way. Now you move away from like logic and facts and reason-based thinking to all in your feels, right?
I really like those. I did.
See, there you go. So anyway, so the early 19th century brought changes to literature and art. Followers of Romanticism revolted against the emphasis on rationality, order, and restraint that characterized the Enlightenment. So followers of Romanticism revolted against the emphasis on rationality, order, and restraint that characterized the Enlightenment. This, by the way, is also one of the last things that still was in period 2. So Romanticism does start kind of pre-Napoleon's defeat. So Romanticism is a little bit in both period 2 and 3, just as FYI. So if you go back and look at period 2, some of it's in there. And one of your Enlightenment thinkers is actually kind of the forerunners to Romanticism, kind of helped lead the way towards it was who? Rousseau, right?
My favorite.
Alex, stop clapping.
So they revolted against the rationality, order, and restraint of the Enlightenment and neoclassicism that defined the late 1700s. The French Revolution was all about it, right? The movement reached its full potential in the 1790s, mainly in England and German states. So Romanticism reached its full potential by the 1790s, mainly in England and Germany. France catches on later because they're all about, neoclassicism at the time.
In the 1740s.
1790s. So Romanticism kind of starts to hit full stride by 1790s. It's very big in England and German states, and then it'll be big until the 1840s. So I know what's next after this. So we swung over here with we went from not modernism. You got neoclassicism, Romanticism, realism. They'll swing back there in the mid 1800s. Yeah. All right. The tenets of Romanticism. The tenets of Romanticism. It's characterized by intellectual diversity. It's characterized by intellectual diversity. Meaning, like, we appreciate everything, all the thoughts, all the thinking. Don't roll your eyes. You like this stuff.
Oh, really? I enjoy all the thinking.
Yeah.
Okay.
I you say differences or whatever?
What?
Intellectual what?
Diversity. Romanticism repudiated the emphasis on reason associated with Enlightenment types like Voltaire and Montesquieu. So they reject Montesquieu, Voltaire, those types of thinking, the reason-based guys. They championed emotional exuberance. Emotionalism is a key. If you want to kind of wrap this up in one word, emotionalism. So Romantics championed emotional exuberance, unrestrained imagination. Unrestrained imagination, emotionalism, and spontaneity in art and life. You should be spontaneous in art and life. Yeah.
Yes, very spontaneous.
Yes.
Just making sure that you don't have freedom of speech.
They're not worried about that, man. They're worried about art and music and literature. So, emotional exuberance, unrestrained imagination, spontaneity in art and life, that's all that's the key elements of Romanticism. Romantic works explored awesome power of love and desire.
Oh my gosh.
So Romantic works explored awesome power of love and desire and of hatred, guilt, and despair. All the emotions. We're going to explore good emotions, bad emotions, and how does it make you feel. Paint it. Write it.
Just go back to work. Go work in your family.
No.
Go work in your minds.
Okay, but
Take off that top and go work in the minds.
What? So what are you saying? You like this?
no, it kind of relates to like dance. Like you have like teen dance that's not as emotional, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But then you go to the studio and they're like, I want you to channel your inner voice.
Right.
And you're like,
just tell me the steps. Don't tell me the thing. All right. Anyway, Romanticism valued intuition and nostalgia for the past. That's a big element here too. Is that there's a lot of nostalgia for the past. So like the Enlightenment, and this is another key difference. The Enlightenment and Neoclassicism focus a lot on Greco-Roman past. Romanticism focus a lot on medieval past, which is why you see like knights and chivalry and those ideas become kind of romanticized.
yeah, 'cause doesn't this look like the artwork? What was it called?
Rococo?
Yeah, Rococo.
You appreciate it or not, whatever. Okay, so Romanticism valued intuition and nostalgia for the past. Enlightenment had embraced secularization, like de-emphasis of Christianity. And Romanticism sought inspiration of religious ecstasy. So they embrace religious ecstasy. Enlightenment valued public life and civic affairs. Romanticism delved into supernatural and turned into the hidden recesses of the self. So let's do like a self-discovery, like who am I? What do I believe? So here is some comparisons between the two sides. So you have classicism, rationalism on one side, Romanticism on the other. Scientific observation of the outer world, logic, classical Greco-Roman literature. Romanticism is the examination of feelings, emotions, imagination, literature in the Middle Ages. So that's kind of in a nutshell right there. Is their emphasis on what they kind of thinking, so on. So like left is pragmatic, interested in science, technology, concerned with general universal experiences, believed in following standards and traditions, felt optimistic about the present, emphasized modern and self-restraint, appreciated elegance, refinement, and so on. On the right side, idealistic, interested in the mysterious and supernatural. Concern in particular sought to develop new forms of expressions, romanticize the past, tended towards excess spontaneity, appreciated folk traditions. Man, these two sides are so different and so distinct. It might be good to have you voice your own opinions about what side you fall on, possibly in a Moodle discussion.
People don't
No.
That would be the easiest one. I don't like art.
They both had art. They both had art.
Literally,
I hate art, and here's why.
Jerry made eye contact with me as you were like, wow. And she was like,
All right.